Good morning, Mr. Lewis. This is Keith Ann.
Good morning, Keith Ann. Welcome.
Thank you.
Okay, just want to make sure this is muted. It is, so I can minimize this and get started. All right. Before I do start, I want to just hit a few things before, and that is number one, I want to thank all of you for coming to this discussion that we have every Saturday, and I appreciate it immensely. But what I do have to put out, which I've started already doing, I just want to make sure you know why I'm doing this, or this disclaimer is important because of a few things. One, when you don't have license to give information, it has to be noted that the information dispensed is of an opinion of the person giving it. Okay. Um, Number one, on that aspect, I do not, and nor have I ever claimed that I know everything. That's what's important about discussion. You have a discussion about a certain topic, person, thing, place, or whatever to get and gather information from multiple people. Now, some people have an opinion one way and some will have another way. That's the premise of discussion. And that's what makes conversation worthy if you can allow a person to have their own opinion. Okay. Everything will not ever be easy, even some of these discussions. But for someone of my knowledge base to reach out to younger people, it's still my opinion. And I always say to do your own due diligence by checking it out. Even the things I say, like I said, I don't know everything. And I may give bad information or not quite 100% vetted, but that's where it comes in for you to do the due diligence. And that goes for you guys and the adults too. Um, like I said, I'm not a college professor. I don't have license for everything, but I have very strong views and opinions. And this conversation and any call that I do is of my own opinion. I do not have license to give financial advice and or legal advice. There are professionals that do that for a living. You want to make sure you contact them if it's a situation or concern that you may have. All right. So I need to say that because we're getting deep into things that may require you to seek the assistance of a professional. All right. I just want to put that out there, but we're still going to do what we're doing here. All right. So, those of you that had the homework assignment, if you would like to start off the call with your answers, that would be great.
Mr. Lewis, can I go first?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so first, purchase order. A purchase order is like a fancy shopping list. It's a paper or message that a buyer sends to the seller to tell them, here's what I want to buy, and how much I need, and what I'll pay. It's a way. Sorry. It's
Right.
a way to keep things simple and make sure both sides are in an agreement. For example, if a library wants, let's say, 20 books, they send a purchase order to the bookstore saying, we want 20 copies of this book at $15 each. This helps the buyer and seller come to an agreement and they both know what's being ordered and how much it costs. Interest payment. Interest payment is the extra money you pay when you sorry, when you borrow money. It's like the borrower saying thanks for letting me use your money. For example, if you borrow $50 from a bank, they will ask you to pay back $55 after a month. The extra $5 is the interest, and it's how the bank makes money from loans. And on a side note, did you know that the Bible said we should not charge people interest or you could lose it? All right. Number
Thank
3,
you for that.
non-interest payment on a loan or credit card. You're welcome. A non-interest payment on a loan or credit card is the money you pay to lower the amount you borrowed. It doesn't pay for the extra fees called interest. For example, if you borrowed, let's say, $100 and your payment is $10, most of that will go to the rest. Wait, hold on. Most of that will go to interest, but the rest is the non-interest payment that helps pay back the $100 you owe. Okay, number 4, long-term savings. Long-term savings is money you save for something far in the future, like college or buying a house. Some of the supposed best long-term savings. Some of the supposed best long-term savings out there are CDs, certified of deposit. Oh, wait, no, certificates of deposit. We covered that last
Right.
week or maybe 2 weeks ago. Another one is called a standout online savings account. Another name for it is money market. You can get money market accounts from companies like, dang, I should have memorized this. Barclays, SoFi, Capital One, and Discover. But in my opinion, real estate is the best way for long-term savings. In other words, buy the land and hold it for the long as you can, or as long as you can. The difference between my bank and a financial institution. So my bank, a cold storage, allows me to withdraw and deposit money freely without being monitored. A regular bank monitors and puts limitations on how much you can withdraw daily and how much you can spend daily. They also use your money without permission, which I think is stealing. And for example, if I want to purchase something for $2,000, I can't because my daily limitation is set at $1,500, even though I have $5,000 in my account. Even though it's my money, they control it. So having my own bank puts me in complete control of my money. I get to spend how much I want, and I get to withdraw how much I want. And thank you for your time, Mr. Lewis.
Awesome, awesome, awesome job.
Mr. Lewis, can I go next?
Yes, please.
Okay. A purchase order is a document a buyer sends to a seller to ask for goods or services. It lists what they want to buy, how many, and how much they will pay. It's like making an official shopping list that the seller used to fill the order. The difference between interest and non-interest is interest payment is the extra money you pay the bank for letting you borrow their money. It's a fee for using the loan or credit. Non-interest payment is just paying back the actual amount you borrowed, called the principal. It doesn't include any extra fees or interest. An example of that is if you borrow 100, a non-interest payment is paying the 100, and an interest payment is paying the $100 plus an extra fee like $10 for borrowing it. The best long-term savings amount depends on how much money you can save regularly. A good goal is to save 10 to 20% of what you earn. For example, if you make $50 a week, save $5 to $10 each week over 10 years. Even small amounts can grow into big savings. The difference between personal bank and financial institution is your bank is exactly what it says, your personal bank, meaning you can deposit and store your own currencies in amounts of your choice without being questioned or monitored. Financial institution, this is a bordered term for places like banks, credit unions, or investment companies. They don't just hold your money, they might offer loans, insurance, or help you invest for the future. That's it.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Perfect. That it? Anybody else?
Mr. Lewis, can I go?
Please.
Okay. A purchase order is a legally binding contract that a buyer sends to a seller requesting specific products or services with specific details, including how many items are being purchased, any requested customization, payment terms and conditions, specific instructions to follow, contact information, and acknowledgement of the price agreement from both parties. I had a personal experience with this when I started my Amazon store, and it was obvious why I had to do something like that, but I never knew this specific terminology for it. So I'm glad that I learned this. And then an interest payment is a periodic payment made from a borrower to the lender. You see this type of relationship present itself all the time with banking. If you have a credit card with a $2,000 limit and you choose to pay for items with the card, the lender will say that you can pay it off by only paying $60 a month. It seems like a good deal, but in reality, that's how they're profiting off of you, and that's where the interest comes from. If you choose to make purchases using a credit card, you need to pay it off as soon as possible and not let the fees slowly build up, putting you in further debt. A non-interest payment are payments on a loan or credit card that doesn't charge interest. I personally believe that there is no such thing as an interest-free loan because it's still borrowed money. The only difference between a regular interest payment and a non-interest payment is the amount of time given to pay it off. With typical interest payments, you have to make monthly payments. With non-interest, the payments usually start after a year or more. This is with companies like Sallie Mae or any loan institution used to help people like college students, such as myself. You would take out a $50,000 loan for tuition and living expenses, and they tell you you don't have to start paying it off until you graduate. That's when they start charging the interest a month after graduation. Then your interest becomes bigger and bigger and bigger, and all of a sudden you're $100,000 in debt and you're completely submerged in it. So it's definitely still trickery. It's highway robbery. Long-term savings is a specific amount of money or financial goals that you set aside for future purchases, such as retirement, a house, a wedding, or something unexpected like a funeral. The best tool that I would use personally would be a backup cold storage when I have money coming in. People who aren't aware of the significance of cold storages and ledgers and things such as that, they would use certificates of deposit, which is something that we went over a few weeks back, if my memory serves me correctly. I already planned to have 2 cold storages, but I would get a third one that I completely wouldn't touch. And last but not least, the difference between my bank and a financial institution is that I am in control of everything when it comes to having my own bank. I wouldn't have interest payments for anybody because it's all my money. If I were to be banking with a financial institution, they would have my account numbers, they would have access to how many funds are in my account, they would be able to charge people overdraft fees. I have to go in to get a card from them so I could be a part of their system. Whereas with me, it's my own system. I set the rules and regulations, I set the terms, I set the agreements and whatnot. And that's it for me.
Perfect job. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. Very thorough, all of you.
May I go next?
Please.
Okay. A purchase order is a formal offer from buyer to seller to purchase specific special items or services at a particular price. It lists the exact requirements the buyer has in terms of quality, quantity, and how the service is performed. The buyer is the one who will ever issue the order to the seller, and when it is accepted by the seller, it acts as a contractual agreement. An interest payment is a payment made periodically from the borrower to the lender that pays back what was borrowed. Interest is the cost of borrowed money and is determined on an agreed upon interest rate. Interest payments applies to debt, loans, credit cards, and bonds. A non-interest payment is the opposite. Non-interest payment could only apply to loans and debt, and only the principal amount would be owed and no additional charges to be paid on the original amount. The long-term saving is saving and investing money that is set towards goals that are five years away. Long-term investment goals would be goals for more expensive things like a house, car, college, or retirement. And the difference between my bank and a financial institution is you need permission to access money from bank institutions, and you can access your money easy when it's in your financial bank because it's yours. And that's it.
Right. All right. Again, excellent job. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. Keith Ann, did you get a chance to get it, or anybody else? All right. Excellent job, everybody. Thank you so much for your input, and your study is going to serve you well in your future because you're learning things now that most everybody else on this call just now found out, and me included. Like I said, my information is from life experience, not something made up just for the sake of doing a class or a call. The things I speak on are the things that have happened to me. So, with that being said, let's move into today's understanding, or at least conversation, and that is bankruptcy. Bankruptcy. So you can go ahead and write that one down now, because that's going to be number one. There's like 3 or 4 of them I'd like to discuss, but number one is bankruptcy. Now, most people would understand the word bankruptcy as the end of your financial awareness. That's that you've given up on everything. It's a total washout, and you say, I quit. That could be the furthest thing away from the truth that one can think about. Second word, while I'm thinking on it, is self-interest. Self-interest. And that's what I'm getting ready to speak on because of bankruptcy. So bankruptcy means that you've told all of your financial obligated agreements that you say, I can't pay it, I give up, I quit. That's it. No more money for me. No more arguing back and forth. I just give up. Now, I did do a bankruptcy. I went through one, and it was the worst experience I could have ever put myself through. Hold on one second. Oh, well, we need to take care of that first. Hold on a second, please. we're going to put everything on pause. And I would like to ask Keith Ann, are you on the call? Can you unmute, please? Keith Ann? Okay, maybe we lost her, but we're going to put it on recording just for her. If everybody would join me in wishing Keith Ann a happy birthday. Today is her birthday. So everybody come off of mute and clear your throat. Let me get my little, where's my little thingy? Yeah, oh, yeah, here it is. Me. Ready?
Happy
Happy
birthday
birthday
to you.
you.
Happy
Happy
birthday
birthday
to
you.
Happy
Happy
birthday,
birthday,
Ethan.
Happy
Happy
birthday
birthday
to
to
you.
you.
Yay.
Yay.
Yay, yay.
Happy birthday, Ethan.
All right, that's awesome. I love birthdays because that's cake. Give me the cake. All right, so a bankruptcy is, like I said, probably the worst thing I could have done for myself financially. It took forever to get out from underneath of it. I would have done better just making agreements with the obligations that I created. So don't ever think because someone goes into a bankruptcy because everybody piled stuff on that person and they couldn't pay for it. When actually the person themselves created all of these multiple debts. Okay, so be mindful as to how many things you apply for, because the more you apply for, the more debt you put on your shoulders. And if your income doesn't cover all of those things, you're going to get into a situation. Now, depending on your particular personal situation, you may make that decision or not. I'm going to advise, again, my opinion, advise not to, number one, put yourself in a position where you would have to file bankruptcy. How do you alleviate that issue? Well, number one, never go after more than you can pay for. Okay? In 1 month's check, that means you have to look at your expenditures for 1 month. If I'm, out of school, I got rent. If you have a car, you have a car note and insurance. These are things you have to spend. And then what's left, you can go after in obligations or extended debt. The third thing is part of rent, it's still a bill all by itself, and that's food. A lot of people do not include the food bill into their finances because either one or two, it's by yourself. So you figure, oh, it's not that. I don't have to track that because it's just me. Well, if you think about that statement, you're already wrong. Anything that you spend is an expenditure. Even though, let's just say that you're, I don't know, a keto person. Well, that's not even all food is expensive. I don't care what you're doing, even vegan, to get good vegetables, you got to spend extra money. So anything that you eat is an expenditure. If it's junk food, if it's, I'm going to stay on this specific diet and it costs this much every week. You got to remember, you eat every day, every week, and every month. So it's a monthly expenditure. So it should be counted separate, not part of rent. Rent is for the dwelling itself, not the refrigerator, the stove, and the cabinets. That's on the food bill. Okay, so they should be separate. I hear a lot of people say, I put that in my rent. How? The rent is specific for the house or apartment, not the food. It has its own bill. A lot of people don't know that. So that's an expenditure that has to be paid. So how you keep out of getting into situations where you would wind up filing bankruptcy is to keep that balance. So you're going to have a set expenditure every month, rent, the stuff that you have to have, hair and nails. And, for us men, we don't do that, but you do. That's actually an extra expenditure because you do it on a regular basis. It's not you do it once, where guys, we'll shave once and then, 3 days later we'll shave again. So the 2 days in between, there was nothing spent. But a lady doesn't have that luxury. She has to do something every day. So it can be considered an expenditure. All right. Anytime you spend money, it's considered an expenditure. Let's grab that word, expenditure. So the bankruptcy thing is your ability to keep a balance. With the monies that you have coming in. So basically, hold on, let me change this around. One moment. All right, so basically, your ability to keep that balance is how you stay out of bankruptcy world. So whatever you have coming in, let's say that you did your due diligence on the employment, you checked it out, you looked around to make sure that that was the best income for you. And let's say that you make $1,000 a week. All right. Now we're just talking income from a job. You already know that $1,000 is going to get hit with taxes. So the 1,000 turns into 750. I'm just, exaggerating really high taxes, but whatever it is, it's not going to be the 1,000. You would have to be making 12 or 13 to actually bring home 1,000. But let's say that we did that. We got a real good job because we studied in school. We got, you did what you have to do to get a good job, just a bite of finances. And I'm showing you why, because it's going to get bitten through 2 or 3 times before you even get it. Hopefully, things change in the future, but as it is right now, you have to make at least 12 or 13 to bring home 1,000. Just opinion. Nobody take this as financial advice. Anyway, let's say you do manage to bring home 1,000. Now, out of that $1,000, you have to take care of all of your expenditures, whatever those are. Everybody's expenditures is going to be different. That's why this is an opinion. Okay? You can't say one thing fits everybody because that's stupid. I'm just going to use the word. We shouldn't use that word, but some things have to be called what they are. So your particular case is going to depend on what you have as expenditure. If you're still living at home with mom and dad, it's not as bad. You want to help mom and dad, of course, but it's not like paying rent. That's a total bite. But let's do the scenario as you moved out. Okay, so you've gone through high school, you're in college, or let's say you finished. So now it's time to be an adult. first thing's going to be rent, unless you go back home after college. That happens, and it's not a bad thing. It's a smart thing, in my opinion, because when you go home, you can actually have time to think about, okay, what job am I going to do? Where is that job located? Do I have the finances saved up and ready for that expenditure of an apartment or house? Do I have transportation, or do I need to get it? Okay, so going back home, a lot of people frown on it. Oh, when you get out of college, you're supposed to have all that stuff together and you make your own move and get your own place. Yeah, it can. That can happen if the person has knowledge of finances, if they have a foundation already put together, if they are working on the means to satisfy all of those things once college is over. Yes, it happens. And then you have also parents that said, okay, look, we'll set you up, we'll get you started, and then you take over. That's called a jump start. You may not have all the things together or the idea or the job or whatever, but if the parents are willing to, your parents are willing to say, look, well, you said you wanted to work in Seattle and this, that, and the other. You weighed it all out. Did you apply for the job that you said that was in Seattle? What did they say? Do they help you move out? You have to do what's called due diligence on your lifestyle. What's your first step out there? Expenditures are always first. If you don't do expenditures first, you wind up in bankruptcy. I did that. The exact opposite. That's why I can say, had I have done the expenditures first, I wouldn't have wound up in bankruptcy. If I had known some of the things I've learned over the years, I probably would not have that issue, have had that issue. But because, and like I said before at the very beginning of this call, my parents didn't know to teach me. So I didn't have the hand up or the understanding of certain things financially that I could have used to my benefit. And that's the importance of this call. So always put the expenditures first, however many it is. Could be 1, 2, could be none. You might have an agreement to come back home, and let's say your parents has like the bonus room over top of the garage where it's, furnished out. These are terms that you may or may not know, but some garages have the space above it where it can be turned into a studio. It'll have, all the comforts of home above the garage and has a separate entrance and exit. So you're not disrupting your parents when you come and go. That's your kind of like your baby apartment. You start out there. Now, everybody doesn't have that option, but for those who do, that individual is going to have a little bit more understanding of how things work as far as expenditures, where they're not in a position where they may lose an apartment. It's just mom and dad's above the garage. So it's like a practice being adult. All right. Bankruptcy is the decision to offset and relinquish all financial obligation. Just basically say, I quit. And what it does to you as an individual, there's consequences to everything you do, including signing a contract you didn't read. And that's the other thing, contract. Let's put that as your third word, contract. So if you go into bankruptcy, you are going to put yourself on a blacklist. And that blacklist states that you are financially unworthy. Be careful lending to this individual. Okay, so that's what you do to yourself when you say, okay, I'm going to do bankruptcy. Every creditor is going to get a note, or they will put a determination on your credit report as credit unworthy. And it is going to be very difficult to get any type of assistance, credit, or even sometimes a job. The new applications are asking about your credit score because they want to know, can you handle money, or are you worthy? It's a judgment put upon you that you said, okay, do it. All right. So again, bankruptcy is probably one of the worst things you could do, but if you have to do it, do all of your due diligence on it. Check out all of the ramifications, what's going to happen to you, what's going to happen to your credit. I can tell you for a fact you will be blacklisted for 7 years. Now, those numbers may have changed, but I doubt it. They probably got longer. And that's what I'm talking about when I say you put limitations on yourself for 7+ years. I'll say plus. And you are in a position where it's very difficult to do anything financial. All right. You do the further due diligence on that word because that's your first word, bankruptcy. Second word, I think, was, what was the second word? Somebody help me out. It wasn't contract. I think I put it where you guys can unmute. Hold on.
It was self-interest.
Self-interest. Thank you, Jaden. Appreciate you. So self-interest, you've already talked about interest and non-interest payments on obligations. Self-interest is the exact same thing. This little word or two-phase word is where you put interest in yourself on how you handle your finances. Okay, it sounds a little weird, but bear with me. Self-interest means, to me, you're going to have your own word on or definition on this. Self-interest to me means I have to be interested in the things that I'm doing financially that put me ahead of all of my obligations. That means my job, my employment. I have to be interested in how much I'm making. What am I doing to generate these incomes? All right, so I'm interested in that immensely because that's really your base. Second self-interest is how many, now you'll notice I'm going back into what I just talked about. How many obligations do I have? Do I have self? Do I have a car note? Do I have book payments? Do I have lab fees? Do I have, I might have a part-time job. Do I have all the equipment I need to do my part-time job well? That's a self-interest. Next one. Self-interest to me is also having the ability to balance all of my finances. Because me, I've been through a bankruptcy. I don't ever want to do that again, ever. So my self-interest to me is to make sure I keep everything on an even keel. Remember me talking about 3 days ahead? That's where that came from. I don't ever want to be in that position again. So I'm doing things self to make sure I don't get into bankruptcy. That's why I do things 3 days ahead. I know for a fact it's early. I know for a fact that it was paid. And I know for a fact, notice I'm saying that's self-interest. I know for a fact that I'm ready for next month because I'm keeping things at a balance, right? The last thing on self-interest is having the means to assist others. Now, who are the others that you would be assisting? Anybody in your age bracket. Share your experience with doing things financially correct. If you notice from 1 month to the next that you didn't get a late bill, you didn't get a telephone call saying, Jaden, you did not make your payment this month or last month, or your 3 days, your payment is due, that means you're not in agreement with self-interest. Something's wrong. So you need to adjust your self-interest. You don't want phone calls from nobody talking about you owe money, because you should be 3 days ahead of any obligation. Unless you don't have it financially, then we need to fix that. That's the first self-interest. So assisting others means, let's say that Jaden is in lunch or at lunch at college, and she's, having a conversation with one of her classmates, and that classmate is saying, I'm trying all this stuff, and every time I go to class, I'm always late. My dean is calling, the financial aid is calling. I don't think I'm going to continue going to school. What would Jaden do? Jaden would say, hold on, let's talk about self-interest. I think I might have something that would help you. You still have to allow someone, or the person that you're helping, give you the okay to give them guidance or another point of view. So I would take them through self-interest first. Okay, never mind all the calls and phone calls, this, that, and everybody's asking for money. Get your self-interest points set, and you should not have a problem. Or she would invite her to a promise delivery. Real simple. Okay? That's the assisting self-interest, helping others. We always want to help others, but don't force anything on anybody. Allow them to say, well, I noticed you're not always talking about paying this or paying that. How do you not? Do your parents pay for your stuff? That's when you get to be proud for a minute. Don't boast, but be proud to say, no, I have my finances on lock. Would you like to know how? See, you're asking them a question. They asked you a question. You turn it right back around on them. Would you like to know how? That's where they'll either say, yes, give me the information, or they'll say, no, I got it. And then, next semester, they're not in school anymore. Or next semester, they're in school helping someone else. You see how that works? That self-interest should be contagious. If you help somebody and they are able to then get their financial foundation squared away, when they have their self-interest locked in, they're able to help somebody else. The next thing you know, all of you guys are helping somebody else. All right, that's how it works. Contract. This is a big one. This is probably a call all by itself, but I'm going to take a shot at it. Contract, or better known as contract law, is a very large conversation, but it's really small when you think about it. Like all of you were saying about the purchase order, it's a contract between two people. It's either going to be a contract between two people, or a person in a company, or two companies, whatever. If there's an agreement of some sort between two entities, there's a piece of paper in between that stipulates all of the ins and outs of this agreement between the two. Contract. Now, there's a thing called legal ease. Legal ease. And legal ease is the English language that has dual meanings. So one word can mean one thing in one setting out in public, and that same word can mean something else in court or on the side of the road with a peace officer at your door. And that word is understand. Notice my fingers. Same word, understand here, but notice the two thumbs, they're pointing at each other. It's the same word. You just have to know where you're using it. And what that means is legalese is part of contract law, or a contract. What is a contract? A written document that explains the terms and agreements of a situation, or a purchase, or agreement. There's a piece of paper in between. that piece of paper uses legalese. You have to know what legalese is, and I'm going to explain it. That's your next word, legalese. Legalese is one word that has dual meaning. If you are talking to your friend at lunch, and you ask the student, we were in class when Miss Berkeley said, you know, lava. Did you understand what lava was? And the student is going to say, yeah, it's hot rock. It's, you know, rock that is in molten temperature, liquid rock, right? That's understand. The word was asked, and that person gave a description. There was no binding in that. It was just a description. Now, take that same word, and you are sitting on the side of the road, and there's red and blue lights flashing in your rear, and the gentleman or lady comes up to the car and says, do you understand why I pulled you over? You, being in the physical, civilian mindset, you're going to say, no, I didn't understand why. What happened? You go into a conversation. When you said, no, I don't understand, you're safe. But if you said, yes, officer, I was speeding. Not most people would say that. They're going to work you into saying that. So be careful when you are speaking with them. They're going to use that word to get you to say, I understand. A lot of them will just, you know, ask that first question just to get you to say, I understand. Or to say yes when they say, do you understand? So that point, when you say, I understand to them, I'm giving you the other side of the word understand. You stand under their authority. You stand under their authority, which means now they have the right to do whatever they want to you on the side of the road, including rob you. Well, how are they robbing me? Well, they give you a citation. And they gave you that citation with a gun on their side. We're getting into another field of conversation. I don't want to take you too deep because you're not ready for that conversation per se. But for the most part, when you say I understand with a peace officer, or if you go into court and you say I understand, then you stand under their rule, which means they can do whatever they want. But you use the same word. Notice how the word with the student, yeah, it was lava. You say the same word with a cop or a peace officer. Try not to call them cops. That is actually a derogatory word. But peace officer, then you stand under what they're doing to you on the side of the road. That's called legalese. Those are your, I think, 4 words. I got you. Bankruptcy, self-interest, contract, and legalese. 4 words. Let's get back to finances. That's why we're here. Self-interest to me also means taking ownership to your finances. We've talked about the wallet. We've talked about the crypto debit card. And we also were speaking on the bank, okay, cold storage. It is your responsibility to get these things. It is your responsibility to keep all of the passwords and what have you safe. It is your responsibility to make sure you have used all of these items in one fashion or the other. All right. So when you do start using different forms, these will all be part of your regular usage. Now, the wallet, the crypto debit card, and the cold storage all use an address. one rule that I would put on your self-interest is to never try to type that address. Always copy. They even make it so that when you are dealing with one of these items, that you have an option to click on to copy, because they know it's difficult to recreate that address unless you're a savant and you can look at words and numbers and copy it, or you have a photographic memory and you can just, you're perfect. But if you're not a savant or you have a photographic memory, copy and paste, please. The reason why I say that is because once you get rolling in A Promise Delivered and Team Royal, when you make the age to do so, you're going to be dealing with a lot of different financial movements, especially with A Promise Delivered, because it's all digital. We were asked to understand and start learning digital things a long time ago. Now it's right in front of us and we need to get to be experts. So what I'm going to do is ask all of you to make sure you have your address in your notebooks. Of course, it won't be the same because you are not going to type it or write it in your notebook. I would like for you to do what's known as a notepad on a computer, or you can text it to yourself where you can copy and paste that address. Okay? Find a way to get and the best way to have it in your notebook is to put it in an email and then print it. Like after you email it to yourself, print it out on the printer, and now it's in paper form. You can't do anything with it in paper form, but very carefully if you have to type it in somewhere. I just don't recommend that. Just put it on paper so you have a copy of it. All right. But you can also email it to yourself and then save the email. And you're only going to put in there the receive address. So if anybody gets into your email address, they're only going to get the receive address. All they can do is send you money. Okay, they can't take anything out. The send address, you don't put everywhere. Just use that when you're using it, because with the send address, somebody gets your send address, they can send out whatever you have in your wallet or whatever it is. But the receive address, you can put that on the newspaper if you want to. Nobody could do anything with it but send you money. All right. So make sure that you have your receive address everywhere. Email it to yourself, put it on, an email, copy it, print it out, but make sure you have it. The reason why I'm asking you to do that is because I would say by the middle of next week, we should be ready to launch. And you guys are the first chickens in the hen house, okay? So with that being said, you're going to, once I release it, you're going to be receiving. So you need to have all of these numbers or what have you ready to put in the back office so that you can start receiving. Now, let me talk about that for a second. Cryptocurrency and or digital currency is what's the next evolution. There's still going to be paper for those who just can't comprehend. That's the proper word, not understand. Comprehend takes you out of that. See, I always bounce around. Most, if not all, of the really, really older people are not going to do crypto. They're not, because that's just not, they're not going to do it. So there's going to be paper available. So don't ever think for a second that I'm saying everything's going digital. You have to have a wallet. Someone accused me of that already. What I'm saying is the next evolution is going to include, so I'll use better words, include digital currency and cryptocurrency. There will be paper. So by you being the first chickens in the hen house, peeps, they're called, baby chickens. Remember Easter, the little peeps? You will have the first access to receive. So that's why I want to make sure you have these numbers somewhere that you can get to them so that you can put them in the back office. All of you will be able to receive at one point or another. Now, unfortunately, two people are not going to like what I'm going to say in the next second or two. But it's for your benefit. It is for your safety. You won't be able to touch it until you get a certain age. And it's no disrespect to either one of you. I think I have two of you on here. It is not a disrespect thing. It is a protection thing. All right. So I'll have to talk with your parents to figure out what age that is. But for the most part, young people, younger people that are in a Promise Delivered will not have access to those funds. Okay? And that one thing, it's a protection for both of us. Me, mostly, the company, a Promise Delivered, has to protect minors. Okay? We can invest in a minor, but we can't put those funds in your hands until there's an agreement, contract between the parents and a Promise Delivered, whether or not to release those funds to you. Me personally, I would like to wait. I want you to see it. You'll be able to log in, you'll be able to see it, you'll see it growing. Certain things you will miss, that's okay. You'll get it when it's time for you to get it. And I'm talking about the entry into Team Royal. All right, so those 2 times will go into your balance. It's just going into the balance, going into the balance, going into the balance. It's a savings account, okay? So that's for your protection. The next thing that I want to talk about for the peeps is that, of course, like I said, you being the first ones in there, you have to be patient, along with the 75. You guys have to be patient. And once things are released for the 75, they'll be released for you. Okay, there's only 3 of you that will, I don't know if Keith Ann is in yet or not, but we'll make sure that she is. Because she's right up there with the 2 of you already in college. So you guys need to have access to those funds so you can take care of your college obligations. You 3 are different. Well, 2.5 are different. So you will have access along with the 75 when I release them. The rest, it'll just stay locked up. Okay, I just wanted to put that out there so we are aware. And if you're bringing, for the adults that are on here, if you're bringing minors to a Promise Delivered, they go under the same stipulation. Okay, they will not have access to it until they are either in college or there is a contract agreement between us, the parent, and a Promise Delivered. So what that means in essence is this. You will have the first push in your financial foundation if you're not already working somewhere or already have some type of income, but you will have your first real push from a Promise Delivered. and then Team Royal. And that's a lot coming to you. Now, the first thing I want to say is when you see these numbers, do not allow these numbers to keep you from what it is that you had planned to do before you met me or A Promise Delivered or Team Royal or any of that. If you already had plans, stick to them. That's going to be difficult, I understand. But you need experience. You need work experience. You need experience dealing with people, because I'm going to tell you right now, and I know for a fact that once we get rolling in both of these platforms, your finances will be locked. It'll almost be that you don't need it, but you do. You need the life experience of work and working with other people. That helps you broaden your, one, vocabulary, two, just your full-on having experience dealing with people. If you're making a whole bunch of money on the internet and don't have to talk to nobody, you become an introvert. Don't know how to talk to folks, don't know how to work with them, just arrogant as all get out, and I don't want that for any of them. Stand proud, stand tall, do what it is you plan to do. If you're going to school, now you get to do it in full fashion. You get to do it with a financial foundation, not trying to figure out how to pay for it. But do go to school if you plan to do that, or go to work, whatever it is. All right? I don't want any of you to think that this is the get out of jail free card. I don't have to go to work because I'm making $6,000 a month. No. You're going to make $6,000 plus what you make a month. So I don't want anyone to think that, because I heard that I was giving the impression that you guys don't have to work. That is not it. See, the person or people that listen to these calls and make snap adjustments or judgments about the conversation, I still have to make sure I put it out there. And what was the intent of that was to show you that, one, you don't always have to go get a job. If you use your noggin and put it to work and it satisfies a situation, you make money, period. That's what a job is. Think about it. Whatever job it is you go do, you're satisfying an issue. Okay? So if you make tires, you're satisfying the need for tires on the car. If you make lawnmowers, you're satisfying the need to cut the grass. Okay? So I don't care what amount of money you are making with A Promise Delivered, you still have to have the experience of working. Well-rounded people do better. One-sided always tilt. They always go to one side. Okay? I'm not going to keep you all night or all afternoon. We're at 12 o'clock. So is there any questions on the forewords or anything that I've covered on this call?
Mr.
Mr.
Lewis,
Lewis,
I
I
have
have
a
a question.
question. Jay, you could go.
No, you can go first.
No, you could go.
All right. Jaden, go first.
So, this is about the homework that you gave. This is specifically about the difference between my bank and their bank. I asked my mom this morning, why are certain institutions called credit unions? I thought they were called credit unions because of credit cards only. Like they're called credit unions because they're giving out loans. But my mom told me that a lot of banks are called credit unions, and a lot of the regular banks that I bank with, such as Delta or Chase, they have regular debit cards. They just give out credit cards too. Why are they called? Moral of the story is, why are they called credit unions? Like, isn't
Oh,
credit?
okay. That's a good question. And I'm going to tell you where it came from. My opinion. do your own due diligence also. But the credit union came from the union itself. Now, you have to know what the union is. The union was the agreement with the workers at the plants. Remember me talking about the plants? Go to the plant, that's the best job. Well, they were protected by a union that made the company treat the employees properly. So if they had 3 months of vacation, and that employee says, I want to take off for 3 weeks with pay, a lot of time the company would say, well, you're not at work, so I don't need to pay you. Go enjoy your vacation. That's not right. So a union was formed to protect the employees from the actual employer that they work for. There had to be a mediator in between, contract. But basically that's where the credit union saw that how banks were treating people or depositors. So they took that concept of protecting the people from the bank and allow them to be a part of the actual financial institution where you're considered a member, not a depositor. So the credit union, notice the word union is there and the word credit is there. It's a protection from the financial institution that they're not taking advantage of like these other banks are doing every day. I just had a problem yesterday. Okay, so the credit union sees you as a member of the financial institution that they hold, and they want to give you more ability to speak up about how your finances are handled. Okay, that's my understanding of a credit union. A credit union is not a bank. It is a membership where you are in agreement with that financial institution. Okay?
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Lewis.
Absolutely. But please do a checkout on that and see was I right? Was I wrong? Again, your input when you ask these questions and my answer is my opinion. So I'd like to know what you find out.
Okay.
Okay, Mr. Lewis, I have 2 questions. Mr. Lewis, could you hear me?
Mm-hmm. Go ahead.
Okay.
Waiting for the first one.
So my first question is it fair to say a promise delivered will be a long-term service account for me?
Yes.
Okay. And my second question is for the homework that you gave today, do you want the definition for each one?
I would like for you to look it up and mull it over in your head and write your own response to it.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. So it'll be basically a personal comprehension of the word.
Okay.
Any other questions?
Not a question, but I just wanted to say thank you so much, everyone. It's a bit stormy over here, so there's some technical issues and I didn't want to interrupt. But thank you so much. It was very nice to hear that.
Absolutely.
I really appreciate it.
Absolutely. I hope you get through the raindrops, get you a nice cake and some ice cream if you can eat it, and enjoy your day.
Thank you. It looks like I'll be in all day though.
Okay. All right. Well, glad to know that you got a chance to hear it or at least know about it. That's awesome.
Thank you.
All right. I want to, before I leave, I want to give a big thank you to, again, all of you that come to the call, even the adults that are here. I also want to congratulate all of you. It's very impressive to have the opportunity to see people grow. And from the first call to now, to listen to all of you, I know for a fact you've grown. And I just want to make sure you know that I appreciate that. All right. So I'm going to open it up and we can say good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Mr. Lewis. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Mr. Lewis. Thank you so much.
Good
Absolutely.
afternoon, Mr. Lewis. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Lewis.
You're welcome. Welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Lewis. Thank you, everyone.
Absolutely. Enjoy.
Vibration?
Vibration, sir.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon. I'm going to go eat.
Have a
Good
great weekend.
afternoon. Good
Thank you.
afternoon, Mr. Lewis and everyone. And thank you for the greetings, Sakita. And I missed the excitement.
Oh, you missed it. It's on
Yes.
recording.
Yes, I did.
We recorded it, so it's out there.
Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Absolutely.
I know she appreciated she's not home.
Yeah, she came on and said,
Yes, thank you.
that's awesome. All right, I'm going to go eat. See y'all.
See ya.